Hello everyone and welcome to the Green Flame, the deep green resistance broadcast that brings you radical analysis, practical skills and artistic expression from the revolutionary movement to defend the planet and rebuild just human communities. Our program today comes from Germany. I'm your host and comrade Boris Forkel from the German chapter of DGR, with my co-host Jennifer Mernan from the United States. And we will be joined later by my dear partner Jaja, who will enrich our interview with 2 more questions. And our guest today is Heide Goettner-Abendroth. Liebe Frau Goettner-Abendroth, herzlich willkommen bei The Green Flame. Danke für die wichtige Arbeit, die Sie in dieser Welt tun, und danke, dass Sie heute bei uns sind.
Thank you so much for your kind invitation. Danke für die freundliche Einladung. Es macht mir Freude. I really enjoy to have this interview with you.
Yes, thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much. Frau Goettner-Abendroth, could you please just introduce yourself and your work a little bit?
Yes, I try to do my best. I took my PhD in philosophy and theory of science at the University of Munich, where I was teaching philosophy for 10 years. After this time I left and founded my own independent academy, HGA, which is dedicated to modern matriarchal studies. During my life I did research in this field, and so I became the founder of Modern Matriarchal Studies. And I'm very glad to tell you that my main work, Matriarchal Societies, has been translated in several languages. I wanted to make the general public to know about this new field of knowledge, and so I organized 3 World Congress for Modern Matriarchal Studies in 2003 in Luxembourg, in 2008 in the US, and in 2011 in Switzerland. And I'm very happy that I was twice nominated for the Peace Nobel Prize, 2005 by a Swiss initiative and 2007 by a Finnish initiative. So, this is my introduction.
Thank you so much.
I would like to ground our listeners in an understanding of what a matriarchal society is. What defines a matriarchal society?
Yes, at first I have to state that matriarchal societies, matriarchy, has nothing to do with women's rule as the common misconception would have it. The result of my research is that these societies are truly egalitarian societies. There are no person, no group, and no class is ruling all the others. They are well equipped to keep this egalitarian and the balance of their society by very sophisticated and interesting guidelines. Should I take a little bit more about? Yes, I would like to do, if you agree.
Please go ahead, yes.
Yes. What is very special with them is they are organized in the mother line. And people live in clans which are living in major localities, it means in the mother house. So by these principles, they put women at the center, mothers at the center. But at the center does not mean that mothers are at the top. You can see this very easily by their way how they do their political decisions. They do it by consensus. This means unanimity with each decision. And they are well equipped to do this. They have several councils and a net of councils, so they can discuss everything together and no member of the society is omitted, and no one has more than one voice. Even the oldest mother, the matriarch of a clan, has only one voice. So, and nobody has the possibility to force others, to force their own opinions on other people. They discuss it until they have found unanimity and a consensus in each decision. And I think this is very, very interesting, because this avoids that someone can force his or her will on other people. This is the basis that they are really egalitarian societies. And what is also interesting, their economy is quite different from our economy. their economy is an economy of distribution, and all must be well balanced. So they always mediate by social rules. If a clan or a group is a little bit better off than the other ones, they have a lot of rituals and guidelines to share the wealth, and so nobody is poor there and nobody is very rich. For example, when they have festivals, they have many festivals during a year, then a clan who has had better luck with trade or with agriculture, they invite all the people of their community or village or town quarter and as guests, and give away their wealth as presents to have a wonderful festival. After this, a clan is a little bit poorer than before, but the people of this clan have honor. This means they are honored for their pro-social attitude. At the next festival, the next clan who is a little bit better off will be invited. So they are always sharing their goods, and they are circulating the community so that nobody can become richer than the other ones. It's an economy of balance, a well-balanced economy. These are, in short, some characteristics of social, economic, and political level. And what is very interesting, they don't regard nature as a resource which humans can exploit. Nature, with all their living beings, is holy for them, holy, sacred. They take what they need, but they give back in respect to the nature what they can give back. So also in this sphere, they care for a balance. So sometimes I call matriarchal societies well-balanced societies in the human sphere between the genders. The balance must be perfect, and between different clans, and between humans and nature, they are well-balanced societies. Okay, I hope this is enough for the moment.
That is wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, so that sounds all wonderful and leads me to the next question, which is probably a rhetorical question. What are the problems with a patriarchal society?
Yeah, you see, what I gave to you about matriarchal societies, this is a common feature they all have. I researched still existing matriarchal societies in Asia, Africa, and America, and I'm about to research them in history. So we are all now, many people of today, most people of today live in patriarchal society. And what is it about? Patriarchal societies are basically societies of domination, where you have a hierarchy from top down of domination. A minority of men rules the majority of other men, rules women, and rules over nature. And everything is regarded as a resource to maximize the profit and the gaining and the domination possibilities of the ruling class. This might be not so obvious in our modern democracies, but also in our democracies we have domination, and we have we have domination. For example, you can feel how you are dominated when you once refused to pay your taxes. Then all the institutions which are domination institutions in our societies will come to you. There will come the police, there will come the justice, you will be accused, and you will be put into jail if you don't pay your taxes. So you are forced to do something which you possibly don't want to do. And the criterion of domination is that these societies have a staff of enforcement who can force other people to do the will of the rulers. Of course, patriarchal societies have different forms. A monarchy is different from a dictatorship and different from an oligarchy and different from our democracies. But the domination in different ways and varieties is in all of them, also today. You see, even in our modern societies, a lot of people are exploited, nature is exploited, and the Western societies exploit the people of the so-called third world, and so on and so on. So these are classical patriarchal patterns which you have everywhere. I hope this short characteristic is enough now for the moment.
Yes, thank you. Of course, we know all of this, but it was good to hear it from you with your words. Yes.
Let me add something. Sometimes I'm asked, possibly in matriarchal societies, they are ruling and have domination by manipulation and so on. Then I always say, no, it cannot be. For the clear characteristics of domination is the stuff of enforcement, that you can force other people to do what is your will. But in matriarchal societies, the matriarch, she is a respected person, and her eldest brother, who is a representative of the clan to the outside world, is also a respected person. But what they can do is to give advice, and the others can follow this advice, or they can let it be. They have no staff of enforcement to set their idea through. So I think this is the criterion and the clear differentiation between societies of domination and societies without domination, what all matriarchal societies are.
Thank you. That makes absolute sense. Yes.
Yes. When I was reading your book, I began that journey. You went all the way around the world, but you also began by saying that there are no matriarchies left in Europe. There's nothing that remains.
No,
and that made me very heartsick. I thought to myself, for a lot of the world's population, our matriarchies have been destroyed. And so my question now is it possible to co-create a matriarchy? Is it possible to do that? And if it is possible, who would be capable of creating a matriarchal society under these modern day circumstances with this nightmare of patriarchy that is global?
Yes, it's a very big question, Jennifer. At first, let me tell you, in Western Asia and Europe, you cannot find matriarchal societies and communities today because patriarchy is very, very old in these regions, in these continents. I found some of them in Eastern Asia, in India, and in Africa, and North and South America. But in Europe and in Western Asia, it's history. This history is very, very interesting, and it can be found out. The task which I'm doing now, and we have to reinterpret many archaeological finds by this knowledge about what a matriarchal society look like. So we can see history of cultures quite with a new perspective, which has not been given before. So it's also very interesting. And you asked, how can the situation be changed? It's difficult to say.
Yes.
And I'm not a prophetess to say this. But I have some ideas about this. You see, I call these ideas how situation can be changed to a different future than we are looking at the moment. These are some ideas, some political ideas. The other things, researching still existing matriarchal societies and looking in history of cultures, this is research. But these others are political ideas which I can only give as suggestions. And I think we have to start today again with forming communities. This is the starting point, only the starting point for, you see, people are more and more lonely and destructive in our societies and isolated more and more. So if they are isolated, they can easily be manipulated and dominated. But if we start, but humans are social beings, so why we should be lonely and isolated? So I think when we start to form intentional communities, we cannot go back to clans which are blood relay on relationship, but we can form intentional communities where people try to recreate an egalitarian life. Egalitarian between the genders, the sexes, the genders, and trying to make decisions by the consensus principle and so on. This will bring new ideas and new knowledge about social life. So I think these small units can start to change social life within. And if they will multiply, then I hope we will have a network of these intentional communities who live a different alternative life than the rest of the society. This is a starting point. But of course it's not all. In any way we cannot cope with the dominating powers. That is in vain, but we can start from below to change the life. And many people in alternative movements do it today, many, in the movements of communities and the movement of the ecological movement and so on and so on. But I think what is very important is that women start to form these communities. We have today communities created by men with their ideas, and they do it very well, but women with children are the basic unit of each society, and so they should start to form communities around motherhood, around children, including men who want to support them. Then it might be some nucleus of a new matriarchal relationship to each other. And this should spread. And,
That is so exciting. And I would love to, as those communities begin to form, use the analysis and the template that you created to analyze whether we've arrived at a matriarchal society. Thank you for that. Now I'm not heartsick. Now my heart has joy.
Jennifer, my vision is that these communities, which are really on the way in different forms, that they will become more and more because people want to leave this way of life in which we are in, which is so destructive. And then, nearly invisible, but coming from below, the cells of the germs of a new society can start. And I think if they live egalitarian, have this consensus principle, have respect for life, have respect for nature, then they have matriarchal characteristics. It's quite easy then. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, so for us, patriarchy is something like the water we swim in, and most of us cannot see it anymore because it's so old and so normal, right? So,
right, for us.
Yeah, for us in the Western cultures and in the modern industrial capitalist societies. So, yes, what cultural tools would we need to recreate matriarchal societies, and would we need to redesign language even, because even our language is very patriarchal, right?
Yes, it's right. Yes, language forms our consciousness. And
True,
when we change language, consciousness can be changed, and vice versa. But language is only one point. I think we have basically changed the economy. And the economy should, it sounds quite radical, I know, but the economy of the wealth of each national state should be dissolved and go to the intentional communities, especially to women who create them. And I think the wealth is now in the hands of very few people. And most people are exploited and more exploited. Especially women are exploited since hundreds of thousands of years. And I would like to read only one short statement from the UN. They stated every year anew about the situation of women in our world, and their statement is that women are half of humanity and have just 10% of the national wealth of each nation, and have only 1% of houses and land of this wealth. So this is published every year, but I think this is a shocking fact. But nobody seems to be shocked about it. So I think at first the national wealth must be shared equally between men's endeavors and men's undertakings and women, but not individual women, but women who are about to creating communities, about to create cooperatives. And I think when women start to create communities around the needs of women and children, and not around the power plays of some men, how it is, around the needs of women and children, then the situation will change very quickly. For you see, the basic social unit are mothers and children. They are the future of each society, even if the society don't want to know this. And if they are supported, have their cooperatives, have their communities together with men, with their brothers, with their lovers, and so on, then situation could change very quickly. So I always insist that the economy as it is today must be shared equally between men's undertakings and what they want to have and women's. Then I think this is a cultural tool. It's not easy to reach, but it's one way to do this. You see, I have a double idea, double strategy. Communities can be formed by people who want to do them, and they do it already. But at the same time, we have to challenge the state to share the economy equally between the sexes, and so I think things will change very quickly.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that redistribution of wealth is pivotal.
And I think, you see, we have so many initiatives today by women, also by many alternative people, and they have always lack of money, so they cannot bring their ideas and their creations through. So the wealth of the nations must be shared. I know this is a very difficult demand, but when you remember the history of women, our foremothers demanded, the suffragettes, they demanded that women can participate in elections and so on. And then they demanded that women should have the possibility for higher education, to go to universities. And then they demanded several waves of feminist demands that women can share in professions, in higher professions. And when women started with that, more than 100 years ago, the situation was much worse than the situation of women of today. And I think also men are today open for equal share of the wealth, because women are still in a disadvantage everywhere, still today. And so I think it's the demand of the time. And then we will have more progress. When women are strong in society, you will see with many examples that things are changing then. Look at Sweden, look at Iceland, or look, for example, at all these governments where women have a voice in them. And things are different than when just men who are fond of their domination decided alone.
Anything that we haven't asked that you would like to
Yes, I think I gave some basic of my ideas, but I would like to add, if I ask for the shared economy, this is not only because I look at the situation of women, which is not so well today and even goes worse, but if women start to create integrative communities, integrating children, pro-social men, and so on, then it always tends toward matriarchal patterns, to egalitarian, integrating, and consensus-based patterns. It does not mean that women can also make their mistakes, but in such a community, people, if they are men or women, want to dominate others, they will be admonished to leave it. It depends on the ideas. And what is very interesting, matriarchal societies, traditional ones, are based on maternal values. This means, take mother as a prototype, this means nurturing, sharing, perfect reciprocity, caring for peace, and despising any form of violence. And when these new communities, which are promoted by women and also by men who share these ideas, then they tend to become matriarchal because they are also based on these values. Respect for the genders, for the sexes, for each other, respect for other people, other opinions, and respect for nature. And when these values come through, and many of the modern communities do this already, then it always tends to be matriarchal. I wanted to stress in the end. I stressed before so much the shared economy for women, but it's also, I mean, not only women, but the whole thing, the whole change in this community, which should lead to a change of society in the future.
Yes, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to start with ideas, and we have to start at some point, and it's better to start than to wait and be in despair. But I think you know this best.
Yes. So since we have still time left, my partner is here. She's from China, and she would like to ask a question.
Yes, great. Hello.
Hello, I'm Jiajia. I'm from China. So for me, the matriarchy culture is not so unfamiliar. There is a group of minorities, maybe nowadays still living in the matriarchy society. Yes. So it's quite an interesting topic for me to listen also. And I have a question. How can we promote people's, especially people from the Western culture, to promote their motivation to wear the limitation of the patriarchy and their motivation to change from patriarchy or towards to the matriarchy?
You mean how to motivate people in Western societies to go steps toward matriarchal societies? Did I get it right?
Yes, right.
Yeah. You see, there is not only one answer to this question. For you see, I do my work as well as I can to reach many people, to tell them about a different model of society, which is matriarchy. And during the decades of my research, I think I reached a lot of people. And others are also doing this job. I think all these very idealistic people in alternative movements do it, and they reach other people. It's not so that they are so small, they are only invisible because they do not have the mainstream media and so on, but they do a lot of work and reach many people. And I think the more people in our Western society see how destructive the model, the type of society is which we are in, how destructive it is against social life, against other people, against nature, the more they realize that, the more they might be open to listen when they are told about a different model of society. And as we are in a very difficult situation today, especially in regard to the biosphere, people wake up, and more people will wake up, I'm sure. And so it's good if we can tell them the way out of this difficult situation and the way out of despair. This is my hope, and I'm working for this. Yes. And thank you that you mentioned matriarchal societies in China. I know one of it very well. These are the Mozo at the southwestern corner of China, where I did research, and I was very accepted by these people and learned a lot from them. Thank you for mentioning it, that in China it's not so unfamiliar to you.
Can I ask another question related with you just mentioned the matriarchy society in China? Is that a minority? They still keep the matriarchy culture, or they already also have been influenced by the patriarchy culture?
The Mozo, as you know, I have knowledge about these special societies which are still with us today. The biggest are the Minangkabau on Sumatra. They are 6 million. It's not so small. The Mozo are smaller. They are 40,000. And I know them from my research, and they still have these matriarchal patterns. But I'm very distressed to say that all these matriarchal societies which still live today are endangered by their patriarchal surroundings. Also the Mozo, they are endangered by Han Chinese mass tourism and by industrialization on their ground and so on. But they tried to keep up their matriarchal patterns, and all of these societies have a long history, a history of oppression and a history of threats from the outside, and I admire that they kept to their matriarchal patterns, which they consciously keep up, and not only by naivety. For example, the Mozo had their way to resist against patriarchal challenges, and the Minangkabau too. If they didn't have these skills, their society would have been broken down, collapsed since a long time, but they are still there.
Yes, this is very, very important that they are still there, I think, because they provide a living example for an alternative society. And also your work is very important, because you spread this knowledge in our Western cultures.
Yes, thank you, Boris. I try to do my best. And you are right, the societies, even if they are not many today, they are so important for us, because all what I can tell you about matriarchal societies, I learned it from them. I'm very grateful to these indigenous societies, to these indigenous matriarchal societies. They taught me a lot, and they give a living example of a completely different way of life than we have it. So to tell about matriarchal society is not a utopia, an abstract utopia. They are here, and they have lived their way of life for millennia. So we have a living model from which we can learn a lot.
I'm so glad that you brought up indigenous communities, and was thinking back on reading your book about how matriarchies resist patriarchy.
Yeah, and I'm very glad that movement of indigenous peoples now have made some successful steps. They have now a permanent forum of indigenous peoples at the UN, where at least their voices are heard. For if these cultures will disappear, it will be a great loss for all peoples on the world, for everybody on the world. So I hope they will be able to recreate some of their traditional patterns and to make their voices heard.
This is wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Boris, and thank you, Jennifer, for asking me, having this interview, and I wish you all the very best.
Yes, all the very best for you too, and please continue your important work, and we will always support it and promote your books and everything.
Thank you so much. I'm very glad that I got in contact to you and learned about your great initiative. Thank you so much.
Heide Goettner-Abendroth's work can be found at Hagia at her websites www.hagia.de and www.goettner.de. You can also find her preeminent work, Matriarchal Studies, Studies on Indigenous Cultures Across the Globe, which was translated into English by Karen Smith and published by Peter Lang Publishing in 2013 in paperback, by sending your order to customer service at plang.com for the U.S. or at AKADEMIE Hagia, Hagia, at AOL.com for Europe. This is the basic book for an intensive study course, which will be offered for the first time in English. The aim of the intensive study courses of the Academy of Hagia is to promote a deep and detailed understanding of matriarchal societies, past and present, and to provide the full range of topics included within the Modern Matriarchal Studies. It is a high-level course in this field based on scholarly work. Once participants have completed an intensive study course successfully, they are entitled to work as a lecturer on Modern Matriarchal Studies, which is a certificate that you acquire through attending this course.
We are reciting poems by Heide Goettner-Abendroth. I will recite the poems in German, and after that Jennifer will recite them in English. So, the first poem is called A Magic Journey, America Cycle. The second poem is called The Ocean, the Pacific, Vancouver Island. And the third poem is called The Earthquake, California Coast. Magische Reise, der Mutter Erde gewidmet. Zyklus Amerika 1980. Du bist ein Kontinent in mir, ich in dir, ein Kontinent. Wohin ich auch blicke, Land im Auge der Göttin.
You, Gaia, are me. A magic journey, America cycle. You are a continent within me, I within you, a continent wherever I gaze, a world in the eye of the goddess.
Der Ozean, Pazifik, Vancouver Insel. Geboren im grünen Seestaub, zwischen den Felsen der Wasserlöwen, von fliegender Gischt und Pelikanen in die hellen Buchten getragen, Sand unter meinen Sohlen, wo ich den Weg beginne, und der Urwald voll Kolibris eine fruchtbare Verheißung, und drüber reicht der Schnee auf Gipfeln lichtwärts. Bin ich dir am Anfang so reich? Wo bist du mir erst am Ende?
The ocean, the Pacific, Vancouver Island. Born in a sea-green mist, among boulders of sea lions, carried on flying spray and pelicans, into the bright coves, sand under my feet, where I began the path, deep forest of hummingbirds, a fertile promise, and above, snowy peaks, reaching to the light. Am I as bountiful to you from the beginning as you will be to me in the end?
Erdbeben, kalifornische Küste. Die Erde zittert, wo ich gehe, in diesen Zonen der Reife, und wirft sanfte, merkliche Wellen.
1
Wellen Durch alle Dinge vibriert es in mir, wo immer auf driftenden Schollen ich gerade bin. Du bist das Rätsel unter meinen Füßen, der Abgrund in mir. Wo ich bin, bist du, überall, denn du, Gaia, bist ich.
The earthquake, California coast. The earth trembles wherever I go, in these regions of ripeness, sending out gently palpable waves through all things. It vibrates in me. Wherever I am on this shifting earth, you are the riddle under my feet, the chasm inside me. Where I am, you are. Everywhere, for you, Gaia, are me.
This is Max Wilbert, one of the hosts of the Green Flame podcast. I want to thank you for listening to our show and let you know a few ways that you can support the Green Flame. First, you can subscribe to our platform using the podcasting system of your choice. We're listed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, and all the rest. We're even on YouTube. Leaving us a positive review or rating on these platforms helps us reach a larger audience. You can also share these shows with your friends. If you're interested in donating to support the production of the Green Flame, please visit deepgreenresistance.org. And finally, the goal of this show is to activate people. So if you really want to support this show, start organizing in your own community. Thank you again for listening.